The record. Okay, Alexandria, you have the floor. Welcome.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, I give you the power here. Become your host. You have it. You already have it.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to my presentation titled Exploring Racism, Colorism, and Racial Identity in Hispanic Countries and the Bahamas. So just for a little rundown of the presentation, I'll first give a little history and introduction to the topic, then go to some of the literature reviews, so some of the articles I found and the discourse among the topics currently, then the objectives, so what do I hope to accomplish by completing this research, and the research question and methodology. So just a little history. I just wanted to present this video, which highlights how concepts such as colorism and racism were originally started in the Caribbean and the history of the caste system in the Caribbean. So all of the countries that I will be speaking about are actually like Hispanic countries, but they are actually in the Caribbean, being Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and of course the Bahamas. So I'll play it now. Oh wait, can you guys hear it?
No, we don't hear.
Yeah, I don't think I shared the audio. Okay. Okay.
And I think it's pretty relevant for me to explain, I would say, the history of colorism on the island of Hispaniola, which is now current day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But Christopher Columbus, when he came to the Western world, one of the first places that he actually docked his ships at was in Northwest Hispaniola, which is now modern day Haiti. I know a lot of people like to talk about Jim Crow era or Willie Lynch, and it's very important, but I'm taking it all the way back to when Christopher Columbus landed in the Americas. So when he touched base in 1492, through my lens, that marked the introduction of a caste system based on skin tone in the Western world. So on the bottom, it was the slaves, the African slave, aka my ancestors. On top of that were the natives of the land. So in the case of Hispaniola, we had the Taínos. On top of that were the mestizos. So these were natives mixed with the white Spaniards. On top of the mestizos were the creoles. So these parents were born in Spain, however, the children were born in quote unquote New Spain. And on top of the creoles were the peninsulares, and these were the people that were born in actual Spain, like the actual country of Spain, but inhabited the
island. That's what she was going to say. So this video really shows how the tendency to classify people honestly according to their skin color was created and why it became a pattern of thought or a norm in society in terms of how we can still see evidence of this in society today through things like racism and colorism. So for an introduction, are all major parts of what makes up someone's identity. And this research will be focused on racism and colorism concerning racial identity in Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas. And racism and colorism are major issues in the Hispanic world and the Caribbean. So this research can kind of reveal that this kind of mindset, though not as blatantly stated in certain ways in terms of the caste system, is still prevalent in some way today. So the idea that white is better, the closer that you can be to white, the better it is for you in society, or whether it be finding relationships or what is seen as valuable or beauty. So the issue of colorism is not only present in Spanish-speaking countries, but also here in the Bahamas as well. And through the completion of research, an article was found which involved interviews of several Bahamians about their experience with colorism. And one of the Bahamian interviews stated that, in my mind, dark skin became synonymous with dirty, something I didn't want to be. As such, my daily routine included scrubbing my face, arms, and legs, sometimes until the skin came off, just to get that light, clean look. So these concepts stated have major implications concerning racial identity. When one starts to associate the color of their skin with words such as dirty, their sense of racial identity cannot be perceived as good and beautiful. So next I have a slide, and next I have a video, and this video really speaks about the same girl who was speaking before, and she tells her personal experience with colorism and how it has affected her. So we actually get to see in the lives of others and even ourselves, rather than just me speaking solely about data and research articles, which I will do, but how does these concepts, racism and colorism, present itself in everyday life?
Really felt the impact of colorism, not just through other communities, but through my own community. I think an example is whenever I go to get my hair done. So even though it don't look like it, I have 4C hair. It's just in a really great braid out right now. You know, maybe I should make a video of me washing my hair. You'll see how shrunk up it is. I have classic 4C hair, and that annoys every single braider that I go to. So I don't think there was one time, I'm telling you, I don't think there was one time that I went to get my hair braided and the braider wasn't complaining. Typically when they see my hair, I'm bracing for impact. I'm embracing for the worst comment. I've gotten, your hair is rough. I've gotten, your hair is not silky. And I've even gotten, your hair is bad, by people who look just like me and people who possess the same curl pattern as me. To me, that is a result of self-hate. If you're not able to understand that the same features you're criticizing on another person are features that you possess yourself, you have a bad really felt.
So in that video, she really talks about self-hate, or in other words, hating their own racial identity. So that's a part of the connection in terms of racism and colorism concerning racial identity and how it affects it, which you will see in the upcoming slide, that is my research question. And also I have another video which speaks about another experience of hers where colorism and racism plays a way in terms of her family dynamics.
Because this is a close relation, this is people in my family. But I know of someone who will literally tell their son, do not bring home a specific girl because the girl is too dark. And this woman herself is dark-skinned with Afrocentric features. It is a disease of the mind. Self-hate is so...
So she was about to say self-hate is so real, and literally a disease of the mind is the best way to describe it. So which brings me to why this research is significant. So this research is very significant because according to James in 2020, for many, colorism fosters internalized self-hatred and feelings of inadequacy. The purpose of this research is simply to educate the reader on these issues in Hispanic countries and to see exactly where does the Bahamas fit in this narrative. There is not much research on this in the Bahamas specifically and can greatly advance the field by providing scholarly information and starting a conversation. So now we have the literature review. So many persons around the world of African descent.
Alexa, sorry, excuse me for the interruption. Can you put again the back? I need to finish reading. I know a little bit slow. The last slide.
This one?
No, this one, the other one. That's it. Okay, sorry. Educate the reader. Okay, keep on. Thank you.
So for the literature review, I was saying that many persons around the world of African descent are made to feel inferior or inadequate according to the color of their skin, as we can see through the video just presented. This includes Afro-Hispanics and Bahamians, and through the discourse, many things have been accomplished in the Afro-Hispanic field specifically. So a lot of research has been done on it. But regarding the Bahamas, there's limited information. However, I was able to find some information about it. And it was actually by a professor of this University of the Bahamas, Dr. Christopher Curry. So he wrote an editorial that speaks about concepts such as the prevalence of class, colorism, and the legacy of racism here in the Bahamas. And Dr. Curry stated that class and colorism continue to remain problematic issues in contemporary Bahamian society. Additionally, the editorial provided information on the history of racism in the Bahamas and the prevalence of colorism today in Bahamian society. And of course, like I said, regarding Hispanic countries, there was more research. So one of the research that I found was concerning the Dominican Republic, and they looked at various factors such as skin color. They looked at various factors such as skin color, economic status, education, to constitute racial identity in the Dominican Republic. And the article was titled Inclusionary Discrimination. And another study titled Skin Color and Life Chances of Puerto Ricans analyzed the opinion of Ricans concerning the relationship between skin color and life in Puerto Rico. So one of the findings provided showed that many white Puerto Ricans felt that being white was the best color to be, rather than being mulatto or Black, which is mixed or Black. So this is clear evidence of racism and racist thinking or colorism. And this research, well, in that case, is racism. But this research leads one to think about how does these issues, colorism and racism, impact racial identity. And this should be researched further along with the fact that there is not currently much scholarly information in the Bahamas. And providing research here would be a great source of knowledge for the Bahamian population. So for the sake of operationalization, or just putting a definition to the term so that everyone can be on one page. So racism can be defined as a form of oppression in which one racial group dominates others. Colorism can be defined as intra-race discrimination, or a system that grants advantages and opportunities to those that possess lighter skin complexions. And finally, racial identity can be defined as the multidimensional construct that includes the strength of one's identification with one's racial group. So a sense of attachment to other group members, an evaluation of group membership. Example, how much the individual likes or dislikes being white, and may include group relevant attitudes and behaviors. So these are all from scholarly research found on JSTOR. So these definitions have been have been verified. So next, looking at the theories that we looked at this semester regarding the theoretical aspect of my topic, the theoretical advancement of racism can be just kind of introduced in the literature review. And this could be very useful for my research regarding the epistemology or evolution of ideas concerning racism. So I had an article that talks about it titled Racism, Origin and Theory. And another article was titled Critical Race Theories, Colorism and the Decades Research on Families of Color. So scholarly literature on the topics presented are integrated and could be integrated and evaluated. So various ways of thinking using critical race theories along with the theoretical discourse of colorism are both topics of interest presented from the article. And this information regarding ways of thinking and the critical race theories can aid in creating or helping to form some of the survey questions. And especially when you are examining the attitudes or perceptions, opinions of other people. So lastly, various theoretical approaches presented in the article Racial Theory and Systemic Racism can be displayed in my research paper, and the main theories which really are relevant would be the racial formation theory and systemic racism, because I'm talking about racism and racial formation really affects racial identity. So next for the objectives. The objectives of this research are simple: to address the concept that white is better, or the closer that you are to white, the better, and how it impacts racial identity. Another objective is to includes to raise awareness that this should not be accepted as the norm. Lastly, will also to provide information for the Bahamian and Hispanic public, especially about issues like racism and colorism, so that one can be culturally aware. Because as students of African descent, for the most part, not everyone falls into the category, but as students of African descent in the Bahamas studying Spanish, this is very important. When studying a language, it is vital to take into consideration cultural events and context, something known as cultural mediation. Especially as you travel to Spanish-speaking countries, it's important to know the history of the countries and certain situations that you can possibly find yourself in if you were to go to one of those countries. And also another objective is really just to start or add to the conversation about the issue of colorism in the Bahamas. So my research question that will be examined is, how does colorism and/or racial and racism shaped racial identity? So what are the effects? And countries that will be used as a model, because of course, we can't cover the whole world in one research study, would be information taken from Cuba, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico in the literature review, and the Bahamas as well. But for the survey portion, it will look mainly at the Bahamas, how it relates specifically to Bahamians and their experience regarding racism and or colorism, mostly colorism. And like I said earlier, when one starts to associate the color of their skin with words such as dirty, their sense of racial identity cannot be perceived as good and beautiful. And this would be kind of how I see that racial identity is affected or shaped by colorism and racism. So for the last part, the methodology. The specific research method approach that will be utilized is that of an online survey, utilizing social media, websites, and online survey websites such as, for example, maybe SurveyMonkey. And this survey will be used to collect information about the experience and opinions of colorism in the Bahamas. So this is nothing concrete, it is just some ideas in terms of survey questions that I found from studies that have been done in Hispanic countries, mainly the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So an article mentioned earlier titled "Skin Color and Life Chances of Puerto Rico" can be used to examine the methodology done and provides qualitative data on the opinions of Puerto Rico concerning racism. And the questions on the survey that could be used or incorporated into the study are: what do you consider your skin color to be? What would you say that persons of your skin color in Puerto Rico, in our case, it'll be the Bahamas, are respected more or the same or less than others of different skin colors? Would you say that persons of your skin color have more, the same or less opportunity to make their way in life in the Bahamas rather than people of other skin colors? So far as opportunities in life, respect, and similar things, in your opinion, which color is the best to have? And I would change opportunities in life in terms of social acceptance or what is seen as more beautiful. I would substitute that for our survey. So this is just, once again, a base of it. This isn't what I would exactly say, just an idea. And also, so far as opportunity in life, respect, and similar things, in your opinion, which color is the best to have, white, mulatto, or black? In our case, it could be white, mango, or light-skinned, or dark-skinned. Other would be, or you could say, like, it doesn't matter. Another question could be, which color is the worst to have? Why do you think the colors you named to be best and worst? And I was actually surprised by this study, like how honest some people were, because I feel like in the Bahamas, people may not say what they actually feel in terms of being judged or whatever, or also depends on your sample size. Are you going to more educated people, or who you are sampling? Are you going to more educated people on the issue, or are you going to go to people who may not be as educated on these subjects? So it really depends. But for this study specifically, as I stated earlier, the result was that being white in the Dominican Republic was ultimately seen as the best skin color to be, to have the best opportunities and social acceptance and all of these things. So another study that could be useful or could be used to imitate the different questions on it is titled "Inclusionary Discrimination" and in the Dominican Republic. And this study speaks about the various factors like skin color that constitute racial identity in the Dominican Republic. So some of the questions that can be included from the survey are: dark-skinned Dominicans are less intellectually able than other groups. Agree or disagree? Dark-skinned Dominicans are lazier than other groups. This one is more so for racism, so I'm not sure if I'll really use these because I think colorism may be more, prevalent, but also racism because we do have white Bahamians and stuff like that. So it really depends. I still have to put that in concrete. And other questions could be: I feel more comfortable with others of my same skin color, or I identify much more with those who have my same skin color, and I often think about my skin color. So with the question, I often think about my skin color, that can be, talking about more their perception of their racial identity. And additionally, another aspect that can be imitated is questions regarding racial effect that was measured by asking how positively or negatively the respondent felt towards each of the major races or colors in the Dominican society. So for us, it will be colors such as lighter skin, dark skin, white, other, whatever. So yeah, this article can be a great help in forming the method approach for this research. And besides the questions mentioned, other items on the survey can ask: do you think that colorism and or racism exists in the Bahamas? Have you ever experienced colorism? Have you ever experienced racism in the Bahamas or just in general anywhere else? And of course, with any survey, there will be collection of demographics such as the person's age, race, nationality, occupation, maybe. So yeah, overall, the survey could be used to gain insight on colorism in the Bahamas and to explore if similar results read about in the literature review about Hispanic countries can be noticed and obtained here in the Bahamas, or if it isn't similar. So for the participants, the requirements can be that they are a Bahamian citizen or they have lived in the Bahamas for 10 plus years. I can try to get a total of maybe 30 participants that could be used to take this survey. And their participation will be completely voluntary and consent will be given. So these are my references. And that's the end.
Okay. Thank you, Alexandra. Dani, what do you think? Roberto, you have something to comment?
I thought the presentation was really good. I just have recommendations or a question about your demographics. How come you restricted it to only Bahamians or persons who lived in the country for 30 plus years?
10 plus years. So it doesn't have to be only Bahamians, but it could be people, because I think when we talk about the experience of Bahamians, like you actually have to be living here, because like there are people who are Bahamians but who live in the States or who live in other countries. So they wouldn't really be in the Bahamas to experience it themselves. And I wanted to talk about like their perception of it. I mean, I am open to just including anyone, but I think since we was talking about the Bahamas specifically, it would be good to use people who like just solely live here or who are Bahamians.
Mhm. Okay, so your focus is strictly on Bahamians because I was thinking that it would be a nice perspective to see how persons who visit or who aren't from here but have lived in the Bahamas to see how they see colorism in our society compared to
Yeah.
their country to see if it's probably worse or they have a different treatment over here as opposed to in their country. You understand?
Yeah. I mean, I have that like or has lived in the Bahamas, but I guess you mean like do it for less years.
Yeah, I think it should be more inclusive of everyone because maybe some white people who come from their
Caucasian persons, Caucasians. We say white, but it's Caucasian, to be
Caucasian,
correct.
some Caucasian persons who come from their country, they probably may have a different experience when coming to the Bahamas, or some Black people who come from. You understand? I don't know how to say it better. Some
Yeah, I mean, I have them included, but it's just be like if they were here for 10 years or more. Like it isn't just Bahamian citizen, but it's like if they have lived here. So I guess I was asking like, should I put the time down to like 3 years or like, because I have them included. It's just like if they were here for 10 years or more.
I think that I agree with Danny. Danny or Danae? Danny,
Danae.
which one?
Dani,
Danae.
Dani.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Danae. I agree with her because I think that you are prejudicing your, not prejudicing, but you are kind of self-defeating your own purpose because you're
Mhm.
excluding a goodly amount of persons based on the time range. Additionally, like she said, I think it should be an inclusive thing because the perspectives are skewed. Like I have a handyman, he's Haitian, and when we talk, when when Haitians are talking about the attitudes of Bahamians towards Haiti or the way they're treated here and everything, his response was what they could get away with here in the Bahamas. He doesn't agree, because what they can get away with here, they cannot get away with in Haiti. So you see the views are different based on whose lens you're looking at. So from his perspective, he's seeing it one way. My perspective, I'm seeing it somewhere else. The next man, that name or may be different. So it's good to encompass everything. So you may end up in doing that, you may end up picking up something that you had not initially seen or thought about.
Yeah, that's what I keep asking. Like, do you guys mean change the time down? Because like the Haitians or whoever nationality would be included if they lived in the Bahamas for 10 years. So that's what I mean. Like, do you mean like change the time? Because it's like, it's not just Bahamian citizen. That's why I said Bahamian citizen.
Well, it didn't come off as if it was just, it came off more as if you were really just targeting. I guess we just heard it wrong. I guess because it seems as if you were just eliminating a sector of persons, right? So we just want you to be all inclusive, and as well as you can probably reduce the time to give you a better pool.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. So probably like just say and/or that have lived in the Bahamas for like a couple months, or like what do you guys recommend?
No, I wouldn't say months. Maybe if you give a range, 5 to 10 years, or you see what I'm saying, give a range rather than maybe a specified time. To me, months is too short a time to have a really informed opinion.
Yeah.
Says you being here 2 or 3. It's just like with cross training. You need to be immersed in something for a particular period of time for you to even have a goodly handle in most instances. Some people are exceptions, but even on the job, they tell you in order for you to get promoted to move from one place to the next, you had to have sat in that position for 1 year to 2 years. Because the first year is you actually training and getting to actually know the position. And the second year would more be you executing what you would have learned in that first year. So that's the same thing with an opinion. I can have an opinion now because I just reached. But after I've lived in a place, then I've gotten some experiences and I've gotten to learn, maybe like with Professor Jesus. He's been here a short time. So he may have come here with a perception or an idea. He's been working with UB and stuff for a while. So his idea of the students, or based on what he's saying, may be this right here and now. But as he lives here a little bit long and he gets to interact and he gets to speak and he gets to these students or meet different students, then that perception, whether it's negative or positive, it could possibly change. It could go worse, or it could be strengthened. But it'll be based on him having a better knowledge of maybe the culture of Bahamians, the way we think, maybe the way we move. Maybe because him living here, he get to see the political, the economical dynamics. So that all of that helps to form somebody's opinion of something, of anything actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about the racial identity aspects, because I guess what you guys are saying is more so like the prevalence and the experience of racism just in the Bahamas as in general. Like, is that what you guys talking about? Like the prevalence and the experience of racism or colorism in the Bahamas by people who like live here?
No.
Go ahead.
That I feel like it's important to include other nationalities. Yes, the time you had was limited because some other nationalities probably wouldn't have lived here as long, so you wouldn't get perspectives. So I feel like that was important because now you have someone outside the Bahamas and in the Bahamas looking in to see if we treat others like based on their skin tone differently from their country, so their perspective would be interesting to add in that pool of participants. That's what I was thinking. Everybody could go.
Like xenophobia?
No, it don't have to specifically be nationality, but some nationalities would also include other races too. So we would have like European nationalities being Caucasian coming in the Bahamas, stuff like that. You know?
Okay.
Or even Asians.
We have a lot of open thing is in our, right now, we have a very big community of Chinese. We have a very large community of Filipinos because they are predominantly the nurses in our healthcare system. We have a lot of Hispanics because they predominantly are the housekeepers and the health in terms of people feel more comfortable having them in their homes. One, because they want their children to grow up with the advantage of being exposed to the Spanish language. So they tend to bring in foreigners to man their house, as well as it's a trust issue. We have a lot of Jamaicans and we have a large African population here. So that's why I think she's saying, you know, you need to do it so it could be a little bit more inclusive of all these people, because a lot of these people, we have become a melting pot, as is the world. And so you want to be able to get, like I said, I guess the best, it may not be 100%, but the best outcome that you could possibly get. And the only way you could do that is if you try to make it where everybody, or the masses, the majority, can be included if they decide to take your survey or to participate.
Because I think it's interesting, because what we may experience over here being of Afro descent, we probably don't experience that in America to the extent they do, because Afro descent persons or other minority races are discriminated against. But here being a majority Black nation, we don't get to that extent in other places like America or European countries. We don't get discriminated harshly like that. So, like I said, with the Asians coming from their country of origin and then coming to the Bahamas, they are discriminated against. I see it all the time, even in their own establishment. So I think getting pools from those other minority groups in this country would definitely bring a unique perspective on colorism in the Bahamas.
Yeah. And I guess that provides like another aspect to it, because it's like I was focusing more so on the Bahamian experience of colorism in terms of like how do Bahamians experience colorism between one another, rather than the aspects of how other races experience colorism and racism from Bahamians. So I think that's the aspect of like where it kind of differentiates. And I think maybe what you guys are saying would probably be maybe the easier one to do, because like Roberta was saying, it opens up the sample population and it gives you the best possible outcome. But that's what I was saying with racial identity. Like I was trying to look at it from between Bahamians in terms of our relationship and experience of colorism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, the Afro-Hispanic ingredients is important. If you focus in the opinion of the Bahamian, you will be doing an interesting work in colorism that probably will work for your thesis or final work, but in the subject here, we have somehow to be relate. So probably what you can focus is in the opinion of the people from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, and Dominican who live here. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they could be like included rather than just Bahamians, like Roberta and Danae was saying. So like that would also bring in a more Hispanic aspect, because my Hispanic aspect was more using the Hispanic countries as a model in terms of the literature review, because I wasn't able to get as much like Hispanics or like Cubans, Dominicans and stuff like that to actually like take the survey, since we live in the Bahamas and online is kind of, you know, sketchy and I don't really know as much people. So that's why I was focusing on the Bahamas, because we don't have as much information on it. And the Hispanic aspect was it being based off of the experience there and kind of comparing it, like, does it correlate?
And what
Or,
about
you know, because they are in the Caribbean as well.
And what about
The specific countries I chose.
in the
You can
journal
go.
that you did, the journal that you did the review of a journal, I remember on class, Afro Hispanic journal or something. Have you have a look in this publication? Because this publication is absolutely specialized in the Afro Hispanic, right? I don't remember the name. Do you remember?
Mhm.
Afro Latino, Afro.
Afro Hispanic Journal, something like that.
Yeah.
So I have to submit it to that journal, or like I thought we were just finding information on different ones.
Yeah, because of that, yeah, it's quite important to, when we are assuming this disposition, we need to make absolutely sure that in the, at least, in the specialized publication has not been displayed something like that. Because these journals are creating the tendency, Nowadays, in this moment, in the Hispanism, there is like a passion on Afro-Hispanic perspective. So as you see, in Harvard, they create the last year the first symposium, and next year, some of we are going to go. You will see, or maybe all of us. There are in December next year. There are presentations. So as soon as we organize this information, we complete the presentation, what you have to do is to read 20 minutes, 15 minutes, the result of your research. So as soon as you finish this research, I'm actually really stunned for the result that you have been presenting. I found your presentation very, very good, especially no matter the trouble that you are having, so the way how you present the nature of the topic that you have been assimilating and you have been learning, and also the relation, how the evolution of the concept could be used to analyze your topic, and then when you focus in why it is the best is the focus of your research. So that show me that you have been seriously in the topic and you have been seriously reading in all of you, of course, but I see that your work is outstanding, and I find important, to tell you, as you realize, the information is displayed in Spanish, it's published in Spanish. So this is something that you, as a professional, that you are developing your professional profile as a university graduated. You, when you get a professional degree, let's say, you could be the person, or you in your hand is that these people here start to realize, start to understand, start to get access to these things that for you is important, especially in this society, but has not been still, immersed in the society. So the translation of this topic, the preparation of new research. When I listen your presentation, I see that probably you have the topic of your PhD thesis. You have there is a lot of work that you have to do. Don't get frustrated when you start to reduce your work, because now you have to do it. Okay, you will limit it to a specific topic now to get this result and to get this subject done. But all the process that you have been having is what is really important. And I encourage you to keep on in that process because as I told you, I spoke yesterday with Dane and Roberta and with you today. I'm really, really fascinated, about the results that you have been doing in spite of the teacher, because it's incredible what you are already doing, producing. So congratulations to all of you. I'm not sure if Roberta is ready to do something else or to prepare something else. I'm not sure. I don't want to push too much. But I don't know if you want to.
One last thing for Alexandria, are you gonna sample?
No, there is a problem. I don't hear you.
We can't hear you. Did you say?
Hello?
No.
You can hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, it was like blocked.
You gonna sample Hispanics as well?
That's what I was like. I wasn't going to because like I didn't have as much access to them.
Oh,
But that's what I think Dr. Messenger was saying. But yeah.
And then there's a church. There's a church, like, oh my gosh, like around that same road where McDonald's and Wendy's is by you.
Yeah.
When you reach
My uncle's church.
That's your church? Is it Hispanic?
My uncle's church. I don't go there, but that's my uncle's church.
That's a Hispanic church, right?
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah.
As well as Senor Bonilla has a church right there on JFK. It's in the Lutherans. That's the little side road if you're headed towards.
I have no idea. I'm not from here.
Oh, you're not from here. Okay, Senor Bonilla has a Hispanic church that students go and visit. Right. He as well. He has a church, and that church that she's referring you to, that's my uncle's church.
Okay. Do you know the name of it or not?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't know the name. I don't know the name of neither one of the churches.
Okay.
But I can.
My uncle, my uncle.
Yeah, my mom goes to it. I don't. Not that she could even speak Spanish or live in Spanish. But every week she in church. Monday night in church. That's not her church either, but she supports, and you probably know a little Spanish because she's been doing it for a while now. But they do both. They have the English and they have the Spanish. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
But you would probably, if you were to select a church, I would advise Senor Bonilla's church, because a lot of Bahamians who are in the language, they attend it or they visit. Even the Spanish community, I think it's Amistad, they're not as active as they used to be, but they also visit. So I think you have a better connection there. And from me visiting there, they're extremely friendly. And because he is vested in his students, I think he can also point you in the direction that you need to go, or give you access to individuals easier.
Okay. I never had him before, but I could email him.
Oh, he's very, very easygoing, and he would love it. He would absolutely love it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Congratulations, Alexandra.
De nada. And good job. You always make me look shame, but anyhow, good job. Everybody got their strengths.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like your research is like really like probably one of the most important. Well, all of our own important, but like really like I wish I thought of that. Like it's so relevant So
Yeah,
yeah.
Roberta, I don't know if you was listening last class because we was trying to make comments on your presentation, but I don't know where you
I
went.
couldn't hear because I told you I have connectivity issues.
Oh,
That's
Oh.
been my challenge, and that's one of the reasons why I don't think I'm getting as much, because I'll hear bits and pieces, and then I hate to try and have to interrupt everybody to go back over, and so I don't even know where people would have gone to. So maybe when I do my presentation, I guess y'all can give me some feedbacks, because honestly, like I said, I could use the help.
I remembered my feedback was
I can't hear you.
based on, you can hear me now.
Hello?
Sí, sí,
Hello?
Anybody can hear me?
sí.
Yeah.
Jesus. Hello?
Here I am.
Oh, I couldn't hear Danae anymore.
You can hear me now?
Yes, no, it's telling me, I think I'm just came up telling me my internet was unstable.
Oh.
Mm,
And the sad part is I'm home, so I don't know.
But what I was saying was,
Mhm.
based on my experience doing research papers, sometimes the professors would ask us to make recommendations or find a remedy for whatever problem we researching. So last class, I had suggested that maybe you could look into foreign exchange programs that we can
Okay.
schools or different institutions, high school or college, for students to probably visit a Spanish-speaking country, because I heard based on what other students in my other Spanish classes say, they lived in a Spanish-speaking country at a particular point in time, and that's how they really learned the language. So maybe the traditional way of learning isn't helping our students today appreciate the language or probably pick up the language faster. Maybe they need another method to really grasp the language. So that was my comment from last class.
Okay, that's fine. Well, tell you what, let me do my presentation, and then maybe based on that. And I thought this was an option. I didn't think this was mandatory when he said, do you think? So I said, let me still just give my throw a shot at it, because yeah. I think I need permission to share my screen.
Alexander has the power now.
oh yeah. I'll
Yeah.
give it
You have
to
to use the power.
okay. Okay, you should be able to now.
Okay.
No, nothing is mandatory, though. Everything is optional. Mm.
No, but I still need, because now that like I said, I'm able to actually trying to get on top of my stuff. I need to make up, and so it's good practice for me in any event. So even though I'm just now trying to do this, I still wanted to do it. So with that being said, I don't even see my topic sheet, but I guess it's in here. But I'm Roberta Murray. I generally say Robert Conache, because people say Roberta, but it's
Yeah.
Roberta. So I try to make
Yeah.
it right. I try to be funny with it, so people have a little laugh. My perspective on my topic is, hold on, is the, I have slides. 1 second. This is it here, sorry.
Yeah.
The attitudes of teachers towards teaching Spanish language. This should be in the Bahamas. I will look into the history of Spanish in the Bahamas in terms of when did we start teaching it in the actual school systems. And I will also dive into whether or not over the years, has there been any significant changes in what has happened with the language in terms of advancement, in terms of the methodology, and to see if that actually plays a part, to see where we're at with that from the time that it was introduced to current times. The statement of the problem, really it's the identification of the barriers, because that's prohibiting Bahamian students from advancing in the language, because clearly there is a barrier, because we do not have a large enough number of individuals who are vested in Spanish in the Bahamas. And like I said before, that's sad because Spanish is something that is taught. Even nowadays, they're teaching it from kindergarten. They're teaching it in the majority of the primary and high, in junior high and senior high. It more becomes an elective or a general ed kind of class, so you get to choose. But the choice in most instances is Spanish. So to know that we can go through all these years of training and still at the end of the day come out with only the surface, like I said, being able to say good night, good evening, or asking someone and that's their name. It's sad because if we were to compare it with, let's say, a student from Europe, from the European countries, even though English is not their primary language, when they converse there in English, the level or the word choices that they use shows that they would have had a lot of input, that they would have been infused with this language for them to be able to communicate the way they do. So if they're able to do that, then we should be able to do the same thing, but it's not happening. So clearly there's a problem and we need to find out what's the problem, to address the problem so that we can also be on par with those individuals, so that we can balance this playing field and make it where Bahamians can compete on that international stage, because we have grasped the Spanish language, which, like I said, will be one of the major languages in the world. No questions, that's not even a speculation, that's a fact. The purpose of the paper, like I said, the purpose is to examine the attitudes of the Spanish teachers. The paper, we will try to see what are the contributing things or attitudes that is causing this breakdown in students being able to effectively execute when using, speaking, writing, whatever it is in the Spanish language, even if it's just purely conversational, just to meet friends, or just for experiences, just for travel purposes. We need to figure out, what is it? Is it that we think we can't learn? Is it because the way the teachers are presenting it is not in a manner in which we can grasp it easily? So is it that we don't see the relevance of it? Like, it's not important. Nobody has ever stopped to really say, okay, this is Spanish language. It's not just a language that you just do for a grade. It's something that can help you in your career. It can help you in your life. It can open up so many doors, so many opportunities. What do you know about the Spanish language? Do you know about the history? Do you know that these people were some of the most powerful, what I want to say, these peoples were bright-minded. They came up with so many creations to how to develop, I guess, a respect for the history of those who went before us, in order to have an appreciation of what these people actually contributed and are currently contributing to the world at large, not just here in the Bahamas. And so the purpose, like I said, is for us to see what the attitudes are and how those attitudes are affecting Bahamian students at large. The importance of this work. This study is important because it will lead to proper data collection. And in order for you to fix, or in order for you to grow and advance, you must know where you came from. You must know what happened prior to. It's just like with history. If you don't know what happened or what went before you, you're not gonna be able to actually correct or improve upon it, because you have no idea, you have no clue. And so for us to, okay, we are here at point A today, but how do we move from point A to point B? We may not even ever get to Z, but it is about progression. It's about moving. And the only way we can actually really improve and move is to know where we're at, what's happening where we're at, and how can we improve upon where we're at in order to get to the next step. Like I said, to identify any issues. What are the barriers? What are the hindrances? What are the pros and cons? Because the attitudes can go either way. 1 second, I want to cut off. Okay, sorry about Lo siento. Like I said, for the information, although this is an introduction to the topic, in the Bahamas on the whole, there is a serious issue with data, accessing data. We are now getting into COVID as well as more Bahamians being exposed to other higher levels of learning, other cultures and everything else. We are now getting into creation of databases. We are now getting into researching and seeing the significance and importance, because even at me personally, even being at UB, I get things from Dr. Fieldings, those and stuff, and ResearchGate and all that other kind of stuff. But honestly, I never really paid attention, because just like with Spanish, I think with students, never really saw the relevance or the importance of it. It was never drilled. It was never, the importance was never conveyed to me. I went through Spanish in school and I never knew the different careers or the different opportunities that I could avail myself of with the language. Always loved it, but never knew of the opportunities. Just knew there was a subject that you had to learn and you had to do, and you just went along with the motions. But having a database would allow individuals to access information and, like I said, to be able to chart the way forward. This work differs because really there has not been any work done. If it is, it's very minuscule, and if it is, you really can't find it. And so that there in itself says that there's a problem at a higher level. The fact that there is nothing really you could actually put your hands on per se. So that's why this will differ, because not only there's information about attitudes of teachers and stuff as it relates to Hispanic or Latinos, but those are from other countries. This right here, research is specific. The demographic is the Bahamas, and this is how it will differ, because like I said, it will start to provide a database or provide information about what's going on in the Spanish community or in the Spanish education in the Bahamas. And what it is actually also giving the teachers a voice. The Spanish teachers, that is, a voice on the topic that they are vested in. It gives them an opportunity to I guess, to formalize or to put in form, not informal, because I'm sure they voice their opinions otherwise, but this is another avenue to give them a formal voice, a voice that others can readily see and say, okay, this is what they're thinking, or this is their opinions, and it cannot really be censored from a governmental aspect, because once it's published or once it's out there, it's out there. So everybody now with technology will have access to this information, even if I just publish this on my own or just put it up on a posting or whatever. The fact is it's out there, and it gives those individuals another voice. The assumptions of this paper is that Bahamian students are not progressive in learning Spanish because of the attitudes of the teachers who teach it. It could be, those attitudes could be prevailing because they have a curriculum. This is the syllabus. You stick to it. You don't deviate. You're on a time frame. And so you're going to teach this, you're going to teach that, but you're not going to get to really introducing Spanish as, I don't want to say as a human, because it's not human. I mean, if I want to be metaphoric, yes. So you want to make it appealing. I think it's what I want to say. You want it to appeal. You want it to be able to connect. You want the students to be able to connect with it. Because if I'm not vested in it, honestly, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to give enough to get by. But if I can see where I can identify with, oh, these people were this, or these people did that. They make advancement in this, they do that. And I think that's one of the reasons I love Cuba and I love things Cuban. I've seen their struggles. I've seen how they've defied and they've stood their grounds based on what they believe. I've seen their strengths, and I've seen how they've continued to develop, how they've become self-sufficient. They've taught themselves. They changed their attitudes and their mindset and say, this is what we're going to do. If we're going to be banned, if the US is going to put their foot on our necks. But hey, they can do that. But what we will do, we will train our own, we will teach our own, we will emphasize the importance of being strong. We will emphasize what it means to be Cuban. We will do the Cubanismo. We will do that which we need to do. And it comes from teaching, it comes from training. And that is why they are such a dominant force in the medical field, at least around, but in the medical field, because they made it relevant. They made the need to be trained, the need to learn, to appreciate Spanish and things Hispanic, they brought forth that relevance. And because when people, like I say, when they can see the why, they are more inclined to move forward with it. Because people buy into stuff. And if they're not buying into it, I don't care what you do, it's not gonna have the maximum results. The other assumption is that the cultural and language differences are major contributors. And that's on both ends of the spectrum. That's on the students and the teachers end, because that there plays a part. Are the students able to understand the foreign language teachers? Because they're predominantly the ones that are teaching the language. It's the difference in culture, in the way we operate, the way we are, what makes us, like one of the ladies during about identity, what causes us to identify with being Bahamian versus being identified with being anything else. Those identities bring with it a certain level of culture, a certain level of how, the what, the why we do this, why we think this way, why we act this way. All of that comes with identity. And identity on the students, on Bahamians' part, as well as identity on the teacher's part. And if there is no meshing, no coming together of those cultural and language barriers or challenges, here and again, we are going to have an issue. And I think we have an issue. And that is a major contributor to this disconnect, or to the breakdown, or the non-advancement, or the lack of mobility, upward mobility as it relates to the language. And here and again, I go back to the importance or benefits of learning Spanish. They're not produced. Had we anything Hispanic, Spanish is even promoted. And I don't understand it, because even though we have a good, like I said, we teach Spanish a lot. We don't see commercials in Spanish in the Bahamas like that. We are now seeing Creole ones, but we're not seeing things Hispanic. Even on UB campus, I think you have 1 day or 1 week, foreign language week. And other than that, that's about it. Even when you have the Thursday, when you had the Thursday cultural things or the club days, the club itself is just almost non-existent. It's like, it's dead, no life. And I think all of this, like I said, is just a tip of what's really going on with the language. And so I think, because like I said, for me, my first class in UB, the lecturer took the time, first class, to emphasize why learning Spanish. And even though it was just a general ed 103, she went into great depth to talk about the languages, the careers, even in her personal experiences, Senora Collins took that time, and when she did it, we had persons who changed their majors the next week because she brought home that, hey, this thing here is a great opportunity. It's a great vehicle for you. Use it. See yourself, envision yourself. Even if you just do it as a minor, Professor Hernandez does the same thing. They are now taking the time because they see the importance and they realize that once you connect with it, you are able to do so much more with the language. The hypothesis is if the attitudes of the teachers corrected, then the students themselves attitudes will be corrected, and they will have a greater appreciation for the language. And when that happens, then we will see the rebirth and revitalization of Spanish in the Bahamas. My methodology will include a survey of 10 to 15 teachers, sorry. It will be conducted via SurveyMonkey because they populate charts and the information for you so that I can easily put my interpretation or put the interpretation of what the outcomes of those surveys are. So it makes it easy for a researcher. As it relates to the qualifiers for the survey, it will be a minimum of a bachelor's degree, even though quite a number of Bahamians would have done an associate's level because UB was the College of the Bahamas initially, where the associate was the maximum level that you could have achieved. So you have a lot of teachers who would have qualified or would have graduated with their teacher certificate and an associate's degree. Did they go back and upgrade? I don't know. That could be one of the speaking points of the survey. What are the qualifications? I mean, the qualifications, like I said, but this in it particular thing is you have had to have a bachelor's degree. So if you were only at the associate's level, that would tell me that after all these years of upgrade at the university, you didn't come back to upgrade. Well, you could have upgraded if you had done external courses. If you had gotten certifications, the international certification, so that can be a qualifier. So I would probably include and/or international certification, because that means that you would have gone back and you would have done some extra studies to help to improve and to help to keep you relevant with teaching the language. Because to me, I think that you are not helping your students if you do not continue to learn, if you do not continue to seek other means or methods to bring this language across to your students. Because if you are not growing, that means you're stagnant and you're dying. Anything that's not moving is actually dying. And just how Spanish is dying in the Bahamas is as a result because some lecturers, some teachers have not taken the opportunity to upgrade. And they need to upgrade so that if they upgrade, Spanish in the Bahamas can upgrade. This methodology would be qualitative in method because it's just asking the who's, the what, the whys, those types of questions. And additionally, data from the Ministry of Education, because they seem to be relatively the only ones to have any statistics as to how many teachers there are in the system, how many schools, how many teachers on the whole, how many of those are Spanish teachers. From that population of Spanish teachers, how many of those are Bahamians versus how many are foreigners? They are able to ascertain what is the levels in terms of qualification, whether it's associate, whether it's associates with teaching certificate or just associates by itself with no teaching certificates, whether it's a bachelor's, doctorate, whatever it is, they're the ones with that information. And they're also the ones who are able to tell us what are kind of like the stats in terms of the testing results, or how many students actually sit these exams in comparison to other exams, or just on the whole to see they have actually the best view, the best vantage point in terms of information, because basically most of the stuff either goes through the ministry itself or testing and evaluation, which is a branch of the Ministry of Education, because testing and evaluations are the examiners in the country in terms of the national exams. So that is pretty much my methodology. Okay, this one I need to take out. My constraints, my sample pool is limited because of a population of 300 and almost 400,000 persons. You're only surveying 10 to 15 persons. So even though that information will be used, you still can't say that that is the overall or that is the actual or the prevailing attitudes of teachers, because like I said, the pool is small, the time constraint is small, the resources are small, because it's just a matter of using SurveyMonkey to interview these lecturers and getting the information from the ministry, as well as seeing what other researchers have done as it relates to their research into attitudes of teachers teaching in whichever country they are actually studying in, which they choose to select to, like I say, to survey. Some of my questions, these are just me brainstorming, not final. I'm just writing everything, and then when I go back, I will tweak, I will take out, and also based on whatever you guys help me with today. Demographics, definitely. What is your age? We want to see these older, middle-aged, more matured lecturers, teachers. What are the genders? Could a part of the attitude be that they have no male figures in front of them? That it's just women teaching this language? I don't know. What is the nationality? Pretty much, if you were to ask most Bahamian students, they would tell you most of their lecturers were foreigners. Whether that is the situation today, we don't know. And that is what the survey will help to unveil, as well as the information from the ministry. What level of education or qualification do you possess? Another question is, what do you think the attitudes of the teachers? Do you think that teachers' attitude affects their students, whether it's positively or negatively? And I guess the why. Another one is what method, the methodology, the way we're getting across. This is just rote teaching, rote memorization, why we're not getting it. Is it just a regular, typical, go to the blackboard, okay, today we're gonna do conjugations, or the day we're gonna do numbers and letters, without actually making it more practical, more hands-on, more involvement, more interaction with it in terms of, okay, if we're gonna do what it is, fruits or vegetables. Okay, I need you to bring an item from home, and maybe you could speak to it and incorporate the color with the actual fruit itself, or maybe the numbers. How is it that we're doing it? Are we doing it the regular way? Are we using a system that is not designed to help the Bahamian society, a system that's designed for another nationality? Have we tweak it to suit us, to suit our culture, to suit the way that we perceive the students learning, or the way in which we think would be best based on our personal experiences with the language? The next one is, in your opinion, do you think that more programs are needed outside of the classrooms? More hands-on programs, more field trips maybe? Not necessarily, some of it, like Danae was saying, exchange program, more exchange program. We need to expose these children at an earlier age to foreign languages, to a foreign country, to see how other people live, to see how the Hispanic speaking countries live, to see, for us to be able to understand when they tell me, okay, I call myself, I don't call myself that in English. I put myself to bed, or I dress myself. We don't speak like that. But if we are in that environment, or we get to have a better appreciation of when we have that practical experience, it makes the theory a little bit easier to assimilate. And I think that's one of the things we're missing. We have that disconnect. So even before they used to do the student exchange programs, and where it allows students to go from one country, they visit the next, and you get to see how everyone lives and the way they think and feel a little bit of their country. So you get involved. and you get vested. And I think, like I said before, being vested in anything makes a big difference. Another question would be for the teachers is, do you think that students know the importance of learning Spanish? And if I were to answer this from my perspective, it would be a no. They do not. Is there sufficient information on Spanish histories, careers? That will be another question, because here and again, me learning as a student learning Spanish, I would tell you no. And even in trying to do this, the data there is very, very minute, very, very limited. So if that is the case, everything else I think follows suit. Yesterday, one of my classes was canceled because BPL, and I took that opportunity to ask the Spanish students in the class to give me their opinions and their thoughts and their feelings to try to see if it's in keeping with what I'm thinking and feeling from a teacher's perspective, because I put my mind, some of them are teachers or in the teaching program. And they were giving their experiences from what they saw in the classroom based on some of the classes involved them going into the school system and teaching, them sitting or understudying with a teacher. And so one of their things was they're thinking that we need a multilingual or bilingual programs in the school, where because we are in an English speaking country, and then, we speak our Bahamian or Bahamianese, we don't have that, we lack that immersion or being immersed in the subject. And so to only do an hour and a half or maybe 2 to 3 hours maximum a week, with that being our only exposure to the language, that there in itself is a barrier. So in essence, I want to know from the teachers, do you think that we need to do a little bit more? Do we need to have specific classes that, let's say for math, where math is taught in Spanish, where maybe biology or something else, other languages except just the Spanish itself is being taught, where we mix it up, where, yeah, I'm learning math in English, but I could also learn math in Spanish, which is the concept are basically the same. Math is math, 1 + 1 is 2, whether that's in Spanish or English. So I'm thinking maybe more exposure to the language will assist, and that will come from by giving the students an opportunity to learn Spanish in different settings, as well as in terms of culturally, in terms of being exposed to maybe before at UB, we started going to Spanish nights at the hotel and via cafe, just trying to be more in that atmosphere so that we can see how the natives interact, so that we can eat the food, drink the drinks, dance to the music, listen to the music. So we're thinking, asking the teachers, do they think that more exposure is required? Does the cultural and language differences or barrier in the classroom affect learning? Can the students properly understand what their lecturers are saying in order for them to grasp what is being taught? The difference in the language, like we call everybody cousins, or we so chummy, or we so friendly, or we so this, or we so that. Based on I think the identity, the viewpoints of what we just was discussing with the other presentation. How is it perceived? Because I may be of the opinion one way, you may be of it the other way, because there's that breakdown in the barriers in terms of the culture. And then it's the lack of interest in learning Spanish. Is it because Spanish is only for a grade? Oh, I only trying to get a grade, so I really ain't interested like that. Once I get my grade, I move on and that's it. So they are pretty much the questions that I have come up with. Like I said, they're not final. And these are some of the references. And I open the floor for opinions, suggestions, critiques. I'm all ears.
Thank you, Roberta. También, Alexandra.
You will put it back on slide 11, please.
11. Yes.
Okay. I like I like that question. The first question is multilingual or bilingual program needed in schools. I think we really do need that. There's only one school, I may be wrong.
It's two, the two, San Pedro and Chico's Feliz. San Pedro branched off from Chico's Feliz. San Pedro is the junior and senior version, and Chico's Feliz is the primary and kindergarten.
This information is important to include in the research. This is very interesting. This detail. There is not one, there is two. This one and that one. So this information is part of the research, and you have to include it. So wonderful.
Oh, I do?
Yes, absolutely. The people who will read when you, I mean, in the final paper, of course, you are providing information. This is something that you can comprobar. You can confirm the information. So it's interesting. Yes, it shows that there is only two, and probably will be three, and the step by step, in the policy making, in the decision, in the anything. So it's interesting. It's interesting to mention this. Sorry, Damega, I interrupt you.
No, it's fine. I wish you didn't have a time constraint because you could have then studied, like do a case study on those schools to see how well their students progress. Like compare it, you said that's a high school and a primary.
Yes, San Pedro is a high school. Like I said, the reason I know this is because my godchild goes to. She started off in Chico's Feliz, and she is now in San Pedro, and she is the first Bahamian student. She sat her Spanish BJC in grade 6 or 7, so she made history in the Bahamas.
Wait, she sat her.
Pardon me?
You start her BJC in primary school?
Well, no, grade 6.
That's primary school.
7,
Yeah.
grade 7, because we had to petition the ministry because they were refusing to allow her to sit the exam. They said it was impossible for her to be able, and everything is numbers. They don't want it to count in, we talk about the national average. So should she sit the exam and not pass it, it kind of negatively impact. So it was an actual backing and forthing, and they finally allowed her to sit the exam, and she passed the exam. So she's the first Bahamian student, the youngest, I should say, to sit and successfully pass the exam. She has also done presentations to the ambassador in Cuba. She's been to Cuba. She's done quite a number of stuff. Things Hispanic. So yeah. She's what?
Fluent?
She is fluent. She is fluent. But what I'm realizing now is a lot of that they're now teaching them a lot classes in English.
Why?
I don't know. So they're starting, I don't know. I can't say why. I just learned that. So I think they're probably mixing it up. I don't know. But that's at San Pedro, yeah. So she's in grade 8 now, I think 8. 8 or 9, one or two. I get lost with all these children. But yeah. But
I think it's so beneficial. Probably interviews, dear God. Never mind. You focusing on teachers.
yeah. No, I'm gonna do another one. I have to on the students' perspective, because like I said, talking to classmates yesterday, it was very interesting, and I breached the subject and they didn't want to stop talking because they had so many opinions and people giving their personal testimonies about, and that's where it came up with the one of them talked about a program that the French school does, where they go over and they help to teach or sit in the classes. I forgot what she told me it's called language assistance class.
Mhm.
where she went to France and went in the classrooms and stuff just to get a better perspective on it. So some of these questions were formed based on my conversation with them yesterday.
Wonderful. Yeah. I also will include something about the race. How do you teacher self-identify? I don't know, something like that. In order to have an idea how what they think about the race, or I don't know, something about race. Because could be essential. Just an idea.
I think she had nationality or cultural differences or something like that.
Hmm?
I think one of your questions was talking about nationality.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 3.
Yeah.
Probably there
Yes.
are people who have 2
And
nationality or who have 3. Or, yeah, doesn't matter. It's part of the process. So probably we need to design the question in a way that you know the nationality, or maybe you know previously and you don't ask. And this is information that you complete before to provide the questionnaire or not. Yeah, this is something that, yeah, as you say, we are still working in that, no? It's still not definitive, the question.
Oh, I don't know if this would be suitable, but maybe you could get like 2 or 3 interviews from whoever teaches in your pool of participants and ask them how they were able to learn the language. I'm assuming that these Spanish teachers are fluent or very well versed in the language. So maybe getting a perspective on how they learned it could also be
You mean the Spanish or the English? The Spanish. The
Spanish.
Spanish language, yeah. Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess
Could be good to know, yeah. How
that would
proficient, how
apply,
competent they are, yeah.
that would apply to people who like aren't native speakers and
Pardon?
that would apply, I mean, Danae, that would apply to people who aren't native speakers. I mean, or like,
Yeah, I forgot you interviewing both English speakers and Spanish speakers.
Yes. And the thing about it is you could have a Spanish teacher who is not Hispanic, because like Senora Collins, her husband is African. But she met him in school when she went to Spain. So the teaching, being a foreigner doesn't necessarily mean that you're Hispanic.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
yeah, I had an African Spanish teacher in high school actually.
Like Miss Jacinth. Any of you had her? And she was here? Taylor, Senora Taylor.
No, I only had the other senior.
Yeah, I think I had a, yeah.
She was Jamaican.
Yeah, I had a, she's retired, right?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah,
She was Jamaican.
But yeah, I think your presentation is really good and like really valuable. I was just saying, I think I had this question last time, and I think you answered it based on saying like it was an assumption on the assumption slide, because I was like, how do you, of course, we know common knowledge that Spanish isn't like where it should be, like, but I was asking like, how were you like making that assumption? Like, was it based off of the BGCSE results, or like, is it just like something that you state in like your thoughts?
How did I make which assumption again? Let me go.
Like
I have it on the slide.
That the Spanish language, or like we're not making any progress, or like we are like terrible at Spanish. Not terrible, like, you know, like you're saying there's a problem. So like, were you just saying that based off of your opinion, or like were you saying based on the results of the BGCSE that the national average is D, that there's clearly a problem. I was just asking.
Like I said, only because when I read how do you go about the assumptions is you got to go in with preconceived or what you assume.
Okay,
And I assume, right, and I assume that based on observation. I assume what I didn't say was initially when I went to COB, I actually went to study to be a teacher. And it was, I only had the teaching certificate to do, and I ended up going into banking. And that's where I stayed in the financial services. I never went into it. So from being actually a student myself. And for me, like I said, because I have godchildren, and because, like I said, I'm surrounded by it, like even with me telling you, my uncle is and everything else. So I'm actually surrounded by it. And I always wondered why I had a love for it, but then only now more and more that I'm actually open to the subject and language, I'm getting to see that all of these things, like my great-great-grandfather, he used to work on one of the merchant boats, and he was Hispanic, he wasn't Hispanic, he was an African, but because he was working on a Spanish boat, he used to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So I'm just learning all this kind of stuff now. And so, like I say, because I'm in tune, and it's just my personal assumption, and based on on listening to teachers, because I have a lot of teachers friends. So so that's how I came up with that.
Yeah,
And
like
so
you were saying,
the study will prove or disprove whatever my thoughts are.
yeah, because like you were saying, like these things that be already known and people saying, but it isn't like physical qualitative data to say it, you know, because of course like we all experience this, but I know like some people would be like, oh, so is it just her opinion, or like is it based on actual facts? But yeah, I was just asking that because I could definitely relate with like what you're sharing being a Spanish student. I guess my view of it is more holistic. Like, I don't know if I really agree that it's because of the attitudes of the teachers who teach the language. Like, that might be it in some cases. And I know you highlighted it because this is what your project is about, right? So, yeah, I know you highlighted it because of that. But I think for me, it's like also the attitudes and the mindset of the students as well. Like I wouldn't just blame it on the teachers, honestly. Like me knowing myself, I know I could be like really lazy when it comes to the language. And then like you would have some lecturers like who would literally pour their heart and soul. And then some students just like, you know, not interested in it. Like you said, like it might be just for a grade or like, you know. And then there's also the aspect of the educational system and how it is set up in terms of the effectiveness of it.
I agree.
So for me, like I feel like because it's like it isn't set up for you to win, it's like set up for you to regurgitate what you have been taught. So it's like you just do the work to get it done because there's so many work that they're giving you that you don't have time to actually absorb the material and connect with it.
Correct.
And of course, like you guys were saying, we don't have much where you get the immersion experience. So I think all of that really plays into why the language is not progressing. So for me, like I would choose to like adjust my thesis statement, like you were saying, like it's because of the attitudes of the teachers, but I would say like the attitudes is like a very important aspect of it. And there are some cases, like of course not like how I'm saying it, but you could word it. It's just my recommendation based off of reading it. And yeah, and then the survey questions are really like good in terms of really getting a lot of information, but they were also like more so geared towards opinions, like rather than measuring the attitude. Like I know you had some questions that measures the attitudes, but a lot of it were based on opinion. So I don't know if like you were saying like they were synonymous or like in your opinion.
Because
I know you said they're not concrete at all. So yeah.
I said
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Like it's not concrete.
No, it's not. Like I said, I didn't really know how to go about it, but my thing is the only way we can examine the attitudes is by the teachers telling us what their thoughts are. So I don't know how else to go about it. So my only thing is to ask their opinions as to what they think. They may think that it's the student. I don't know. And because
maybe you can make a diagnostic. Maybe you can make a diagnostic analyzing their answer in a particular case. You present a situation, and according to what the answer is, you can diagnose their attitude. You know
Man, you're telling me something that I know nothing about.
Because I think, I don't know.
This type of paper, and he trying to throw me off the train.
I think I'm honest because I study psychology and I know like,
and that's
like
why you. So that's
opinion
why.
and attitudes. Like when we do attitude scales, it's more so of like, okay, I realize that the education system is not where it needs to be. On a scale of 1 to 10, like 1 to 6, agree, disagree. No, I know that my blah, 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 like, you know, like it's more of a scale, attitude scale questionnaire, but like, it's difficult because
No,
like,
this is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing, you know.
Yeah, but I mean like the attitude in terms of referring to themselves, the teachers themselves.
Okay,
Like,
you must have to have a sidebar conversation because I ain't sure I get you. Like, see, because like this, like in your opinion, is there a need for more programs outside the classroom? It'll be a agree, strongly agree, disagree, whatever the case may be. That's what you're talking about? No?
Yeah, that's an aspect. The Likert skill. That's a Likert skill. But it just depends on the question you ask. Because like no one says opinion, so opinions. But yeah, it was just a question. I don't think it's that deep. It was just a thought because I know, like you said, it wasn't concrete and you wanted to get like our input on it.
Yeah. Because like I said, I'm literally just trying to put it together. It's like trying to learn and put it together as I go along. And like, it's new for me. Like I realize psychology majors and business administration majors, because they have to write so many papers and research that they're very, very good at it. And so we don't have to do this over here. So we're doing it now.
This is wonderful, Roberta, actually. Roberta.
So that's the difference. This discipline doesn't really focus. We don't have to do that. None of the classes have to do this like this. So, yeah.
No, yes, I have a big problem with you ladies because it's really hard for me to make a decision which work, which presentation is better, what approach, which of you have been the best process. So I really congratulate all of you. Unfortunately, we have already half an hour more of the class. So that's indicate that we are really having joy here, but we need to stop because
I have class
we
in
need
2
a
minutes.
class. Yeah,
I have class in
me
2
too,
minutes.
me too.
And I got a presentation for
unfortunately,
PPI.
we have to interrupt this wonderful chatting and interaction. Congratulations, and try to focus for the next class on Tuesday. Try to write the questionnaire. Try to think in your sample, in your universe, in your sample. Maybe to all of you, think in the question in Spanish and in English too. In English, first thinking in English, but just consider that we are going to deliver the questionnaire in Spanish too, because people probably will not speak or will feel better responding in Spanish. So we have to be open to analyze the answer in Spanish and in English, and we provide the instrument, the questionnaire in Spanish and in English. And also for the next Tuesday, think about it and try to get as much as possible you can. It's good what you are already saying, 10, 20, 30, it's okay. But if you can increase this, the information will be better, will be stronger, will be more representative. So thank you to all of you, Roberta, Alexandria, Dane. Congratulations, Dane, because your participation today was important. I really will mark this. Alexandria, your presentation was amazing too. And Roberta, you know, so Roberta, I will always tell you Roberta, sorry. I know that it's Roberta, but for me, you know, you have to let me call you Roberta. So see you next Tuesday.
I haven't corrected, just I let you be.
Thank you. Let me be, thank you. Okay, all the best for all of you, and see you next Tuesday.
Adios.
Okay.
Chao. Felicitaciones.